I saw my mother's lifeless body on the floor, her hands tied with a cord that had dug into her skin. The pastor's words were still ringing in my ears, "The witch must die for your blessings to flow." That was the moment my life changed forever. My name is Amoka, and this is the story of how I stumbled upon a dark secret, the cult behind the church we all trusted. It all began when Bishop Paul came to our town. He was unlike any preacher we had ever seen, charismatic, eloquent, and full of miracles. His church, Fire of Glory Ministry, grew faster than anything we had ever seen. People would sell their properties just to donate to him. Others abandoned their families to work full-time in the church. At first, it seemed like he was genuinely helping people. He laid hands on the sick, and they claimed to be healed. Women who had been barren for years suddenly had babies. People who were struggling in business started making money. The whole town believed he was sent by God. But things took a dark turn. One Sunday, during the usual fiery sermon, Bishop Paul called out my mother. He said she had been hiding something from her children. The congregation gasped. He paused dramatically before declaring, "Your mother is the witch blocking your destiny." I froze. My siblings stared at me, their faces filled with confusion and anger. My mother fell to her knees, pleading, "It's not true. I swear before God." But the bishop wouldn't let her speak. He turned to us, saying, "Do you want to remain poor and cursed forever? Or do you want to be free?" It was as if we had been hypnotized. Everyone in the church started chanting, "Set them free, man of God. Set them free." The bishop handed my brother a bottle of anointing oil and whispered something to him. Then he gave me and my sister a knife. He told us, "The witch must be destroyed. Do it for your future." I hesitated. My hands were shaking, and I felt like vomiting. My brother, however, seemed possessed. He poured the oil over my mother and began shouting, "You will not destroy us anymore." My sister grabbed my hand, forcing me to hold the knife. Tears were streaming down her face, but she kept muttering, "We have to do it. The man of God said so." I couldn't do it. I dropped the knife and ran out of the church, my heart pounding. But what I saw outside was even worse. In a hidden corner near the pastor's office, I found a group of men in black robes. They were chanting around the fire, holding what looked like human bones. My legs froze. One of them saw me and shouted, "She's seen too much." I ran back into the church, screaming for help, but no one listened. The congregation was still chanting, swaying back and forth like they were under a spell. I knew I couldn't save my mother. I ran all the way home, my mind racing. The next day, I decided to investigate. I visited an old woman in the village who was known for her knowledge of spiritual matters. When I told her about the church, she sighed and said, "You've stumbled upon the bishop cult." She explained that many pastors were part of secret societies. They were initiated and given tasks to perform to grow their churches. These tasks often involved human sacrifices or causing chaos in families. They feed on the pain and destruction they create, she said. I felt sick to my stomach. Everything began to make sense. The broken families, the sudden deaths, the extreme devotion to the bishop. I tried to warn others, but no one believed me. They called me a liar and said I was jealous of the bishop's success. My own siblings refused to speak to me. A week later, my brother was arrested for my mother's murder. My sister disappeared, and the bishop, he continued preaching, growing richer and more powerful. But I couldn't let it go. I started documenting everything, the rituals, the broken families, the unexplained deaths. I reached out to journalists, hoping someone would listen. It took years, but finally, an undercover investigation exposed the bishop. He was arrested along with several other pastors. They found evidence of the rituals, including human remains buried under the church. But even then, many people refused to believe the truth. They said it was a lie from the devil to bring down a man of God. It's been 10 years since my mother's death. I still carry the guilt of not saving her. My siblings are lost, one in prison, the other nowhere to be found. I've dedicated my life to helping others see the truth about these so-called men of God. But the cults are still out there, growing in number, feeding on the desperation of people looking for hope. If you're reading this, be careful. Not every church is what it seems, and not every man of God is sent by God. Thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe buttons for more.